What's up, you freaking geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to find the zeros of a function. So we're going to do a few quadratic examples, and I'm also going to do a couple cubic examples. All right, so let's start with this one right here. F of x is equal to, in parentheses, x minus 6 times x plus 1. All right, so the goal here is just to make sure that you make each factor or each set of parentheses equal 0. Okay, so for example, right here we have x minus 6, right? So what would x have to be equal to make this set of parentheses equal to 0? Well, it'd have to be equal to positive 6, right? Because 6 minus 6 is equal to 0. Okay, and in this set of parentheses, x would have to be equal to negative 1, right? So the zeros for this function are at x is equal to 6 and x is equal to negative 1. Okay, here we have g of x is equal to negative 2x squared minus 10x minus 12, all right? So what we have to do here first is factor this, all right? So we can get some set of parentheses over here. So the first thing we can do to factor it is factor out this negative 2, right? So then this is going to be equal to, let's see, we factor out a negative 2 on the inside, we're going to be left with x squared. And then remember, factoring is basically like dividing. So negative 10x divided by negative 2, that would be equal to positive 5x. And then negative 12 divided by negative 2 is equal to positive 6. Okay, and we can continue breaking this down, right? So x squared plus 5x plus 6, we can factor this even more. You can use guess and check or whatever method you want. So here we have x squared, so we're going to have an x there and an x there. And then the two numbers that we put here have to multiply to positive 6 and add up to positive 5, right? So that's going to be a plus 2 and a plus 3. Okay, cool. So now we have g of x is equal to negative 2 times x plus 2 in parentheses times x plus 3. Okay, so now that this is completely factored, now we can pull out the zeros, right? So here we're going to have a 0 at x is equal to negative 2, and here we're going to have a 0 at x is equal to negative 3. Okay, so these are your zeros, negative 2 and negative 3. And here, the last quadratic one we're going to do is h of x is equal to x minus 1 times x squared minus 16. Okay, now we can actually factor this x squared minus 16 a little bit more, so we can simplify this. So this is going to be equal to x minus 1, and then here we have x squared minus a perfect square. So to break this common pattern down, this would just be x plus 4 times x minus 4. Okay, so whenever you see x squared minus a perfect square, you just split up the x's like normal, right? An x and an x. And then here we have 16, or minus 16, right? So what's the square root of 16? 4. So then you put a positive 4 and a negative 4, right? So that's a quick little way to factor this down. Okay, but in either case, this is completely factored now. So here for this first one, we're going to have a 0 at x is equal to positive 1, here at x is equal to negative 4, and here at x is equal to positive 4, right? So we have 3 zeros for this quadratic function. All right, and here are the last two examples, and they're both going to be cubic functions. So here we have y is equal to x cubed minus 49x. So again, we have to factor this first before we can start finding the zeros. So the first thing we can do is take out an x from x cubed and minus 49x, right? So we're going to say that y is equal to, and then factoring out an x, we're going to be left with x squared minus 49. Okay, so then we're going to have y is equal to x. And then we have that pattern again, right? So x squared minus a perfect square. So we can break this down into x plus 7 times x minus 7, all right? Now this is completely factored, so we can start finding the zeros. So first of all, here we have just an x. So in order for this x to be equal to 0, we just say x is equal to 0, okay? Now for this set of parentheses to be equal to 0, we need this x to be equal to negative 7, right? So this one's going to be equal to negative 7. And then this last one, x is going to be equal to positive 7. All right, so we have 3 zeros for this cubic function, right? 0, negative 7, and positive 7. Okay, and lastly, here we have b of x is equal to x cubed minus x squared minus 9x plus 9, right? One way we can factor this is by grouping. Okay, so we're going to take this the first two terms right here and factor that, and then group these last two terms and factor those, okay? So these first two, x cubed minus x squared, we can factor out an x squared from each of them. So then this is going to be equal to factoring out an x squared, right? So then here we're just going to be left with x minus 1. And then here we have negative 9x plus 9, so we can factor out a negative 9 from each of these, right? So minus 9. And then that's going to leave us with x minus 1 on the inside also. Okay, so you can see we have a term in common, right? We have an x minus 1 and an x minus 1. So then this is going to be equal to x minus 1. You just write it down once. And then the other factor that we're going to put right here is by what we factored out. So this x squared and this minus 9, right? So x squared minus 9. Okay, so then this is equal to x minus 1 times, and then here's our common pattern, right? X squared minus 9. So this is going to be x plus 3 times x minus 3, right? So then our zeros here are going to be x is equal to 1, x is equal to negative 3, and x is equal to positive 3. So if you found the video helpful, definitely leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any other questions or want to see any other examples, just let me know in the comment section below.